I recently got a letter from the tax appraiser, and I was actually very surprised to see that my taxes have gone up twofold, sometimes even threefold. And I was wondering if there was a way to kind of like negotiate or perhaps appeal my property taxes in a way that it could be beneficial to me, of course, and also perhaps to the county that is doing the tax appraisal. Because at the end of the day, I understand that they need to, collect taxes in order to pay for the police department, the fire department, the public parks, the roads, public schools, our teachers. So I want to contribute to the economy, but at the same time, I also want to have cash flow in my investment properties. Is that the dilemma that you're facing right now and you're looking for answers? Well, let me tell you that you have come to the right place, because we're going to cover that exactly today. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode at NOVARISE Invest. For those who are tuning in for the first time, let me tell you, this is your channel for real estate education. So today we're going to talk about property taxes, right? What a big dilemma. They are important for the city or for the county to collect to ensure that we have all of our public services that are necessary to have a nice and safe life. But at the same time, we are business owners at the end of the day, right? We're investing in real estate with the purpose to have cash flow at the end of the day, because we need to make money. So how do we come to that happy medium and make sure that we can, just benefit from this entire situation? So a couple of months ago, I had a subscriber ask me exactly that same question, and I had just started the appeal process, but I didn't hear back from the city until recently. So I decided to create this episode to sort of like share my experience with you, and hopefully that will help you get some sense of direction as to how you should proceed when it comes to appealing your property taxes. So for that, what we're going to do is to go straight into my tablet. So here we are. So what happened was, once again, just to tell you the story, I got a letter in the mail. The letter was titled Tax Appraisal for the year 2021 because they have to do the appraisal a year before and give you a heads up of how much they're going to charge you in the upcoming year, right? So I took a look at it. I checked that the address was accurate, correct. Then I reviewed my letter from last year and the letter from this year. I noticed that there was a big change in the property taxes. I understand if they need to increase the taxes by a small percentage, perhaps maybe 2, 3, even 5%, but I noticed that the increase was very extreme. We're talking about at least a third of it. We're talking 30%, sometimes even 40% on property taxes. So I noticed that this was a big jump, and I wanted to find out why, and if possible, I wanted to negotiate so I could bring the cost of it down. So as some of you know, I have rentals in Florida, and I also have them in Alabama. So we're going to start off with Alabama, because that's where I got my first experience appealing with taxes. So in Alabama, I got a letter for the appraisal of my 17 properties. They're all in the same complex. So I got the letter. I got one letter for each property, but they were part of the same complex. So what I wind up seeing was that, let's say for property X, Y, and C, they were pretty comparable. The taxes were very, very similar to the taxes from the current year, and the increase was very minimal. We're talking about a 1 or 2%. But then on the other side of the equation, I saw there were some other properties within the same complex, or we're going to call them A, B, and C. And A, B, and C had taxes that went up by 30%. And I was like, wow, that's such a big increase in comparison to these properties right here. And they were pretty comparable. They were about the same age. They had about the same square footage and the same number of rooms. So I couldn't really understand what was the big discrepancy. So what I did was I reached out to my property manager to find out if there was any changes in the area, perhaps maybe any new construction and stuff like that. But he confirmed that everything remained pretty much the same. So instead, what I did was I took the letter, and usually they have a number that you can call. In my case, in Alabama, the appraiser actually provided me with his business card. He actually mailed the letter and his business card all together. And I was able to reach out to him. I gave him a call and I said, I received the tax appraisal, but I'm kind of like taken aback as to why there are some properties with taxes that were a lot higher, even though they're at the same complex. I am the owner of so and so, and I don't understand why the increase. Has something happened in the neighborhood lately? Maybe some new constructions that are bringing up the value. I already knew it wasn't, but I still wanted to find a way to get this appraiser to talk and sort of like educate me in the process as well, because at the end of the day, I'm not afraid of asking questions and not knowing, because that's how you learn at the end of the day. People love to talk, people love to share or show that they are knowledgeable in this case. So this appraiser in particular didn't really have much of an answer to give me. What he said was that he was going to go back and look at some of the numbers and do a second round and then get back to me with some numbers. So eventually a couple of months went by, and I did receive an email from him, and he had reevaluated the numbers, and he had brought down the taxes to the point that they were comparable to the numbers that were in my other properties. And then in the end, he asked me to confirm via email whether I agree or disagree with those new numbers. And in the end, I agree, because I understand that, once again, the city or the town, they need to collect taxes to continue to provide for the public services that we enjoy at the end of the day. And so we have to have a happy medium, right? We have to create a win-win situation for the city, and I also have to create a win-win situation for myself, because at the end of the day, I need to have cash flow, right? So cash flow. So that was with one complex, but I also have a couple of properties here and there throughout Alabama, and I noticed that some of them went up double the price, and some of them went up, by 3 times, right? And so in this case, I did the same approach. I contacted my property manager, and he was already on the work. So he was telling me that he reached out to other real estate investors within that area who were also taken aback at the prices, and collectively we came to an agreement as to what was acceptable and what was not. So we were very well aware that the property prices in that area has gone up because there have been some new constructions, new buildings, new shopping centers, new malls being built in the area. It was one of those up and coming neighborhoods that was changing for the better. So in the end, we understood that the prices were going to continue to go up, but we just weren't ready to let the prices go up as much. Why? Because the rent in the area did not go up by much. Even though the value of the properties went up, the areas remain pretty much constant. So at the end of the day, that means that if you have higher prices, then it will ultimately eat into your profits, and you will have less cash flow. So in the end, we reached out to the city through my property manager, and we said, hey, we agree that you have to implement some type of increases, but what we disagree with is the fact that you're increasing it by that much. So we'll be okay if you accept it, but we will not go more than a certain rate. And at the end, the city came back to us and they agreed, and we both wind up with a win-win situation. The city was happy, we were happy, because we wound up keeping our cash flow. Now, in Florida, the engagement was a little bit different. So in Florida, what I do is I have a couple of properties here and there sparse out throughout the state, and the same thing, I got a letter for this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. But in Florida, they have kind of like a general 1-800 number that you can call, and then you give them the property address, and then they do the search into their system, and they will provide you the individual phone numbers of the appraisers who worked on your property. So I ended up calling each property individually, and I got a number for this one, a name and a number for this one, and so on, right? And so when I got on the phone with them, I took the same approach. I asked them, hey, I noticed that the property taxes have gone up tremendously from this area to another, and I happen to own within the vicinity, and I just don't understand why this property in particular went up by so much. Let's say, for example, this one, while this one right here remain pretty static. Like it's okay to see, meaning there was an increase in taxes, but we're talking about like a 1 or 2%, which it's pretty okay or pretty normal because you need to adjust for inflation, but this one went up by like a lot. And so what this gentleman did was that he pulled up a search, a query of recently sold properties, what they call comparables. And it turns out that there was an increase in homes sold in this area, but they were also sold by a lot higher because they were having a couple of bidding wars, given everything that was going on with the pandemic. People were living in major cities, maybe they were moving into more suburban areas, they were looking for bigger spaces, and the prices just simply went up by by those bidding wars. And if you don't know what a bidding war is, it's basically a dynamic that goes like this. So let's say, for example, I'm willing to sell a property at $100,000, and then one person comes in and they say, oh, you know what, I like it so much, I don't want a chance losing it, so I'm gonna give you $100,000. But then another buyer comes in and say, oh, you know what, I like that property too, and I don't want to lose it, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna offer more money. I'm gonna offer $105,000. And then this person comes back and say, oh, wait a minute, no, I like this property. You know what, I'm gonna offer $110,000, and then $115,000, $120,000, all the way up to $125,000, and all of a sudden, thanks to that bidding war, we wind up getting $25,000 more over the asking price. It's great as a seller that I'm getting that amount of money, but if I am looking to maintain that property long term, it's not so good, because that means I'm going to have to pay higher taxes in order to be able to maintain that property for me and not lose it to the city and have a lien on it, right? So I didn't really have much room for negotiation, but what this person did tell me, he said, hey, look, things happen all the time, especially in a place like Florida, where prices are fluctuating back and forth. So for all I know, you can have a much lower price in this coming year or in the next 2 years, and you might wind up paying even less taxes than what you're paying now. Yes, that could happen as well, depending on the changes that happen in the neighborhood. So if you're enjoying the story that I'm telling you and you're learning something so far, do not forget to hit the like button so you can help this channel rank and help other people like you who are trying to look for information of this kind to educate themselves. And back to the story, so this is pretty much all you have. Don't be afraid of the appraisers. They are pretty friendly people as well, because ultimately they don't want to get you upset because they need to collect those taxes as well. So they're pretty reasonable. They are open to what you have to say as long as you ask for things nicely. So let me know what your thoughts are, and if you went through a situation like this, I would love to hear your story and see how you actually manage it, so that perhaps your story can help other people as well, and collectively we can help everybody, so we can be more educated and get more access to quality information. And while I still have you here, do not forget to check out this episode right here. That's going to help you complement everything you just learned today in this episode. I will see you soon next time, and until then, take care. Bye bye.